We know that fear is the enemy. It is fear that limits us. We know that it is fear that poisons our relationships. So if fear is the enemy and the poison, we know the antidote is presence. Active presence driven by our connection with our deep and personal purpose. Now, if you've been working with this, or even thinking about working with it, you'll also know that there are times when, despite our best intentions, we find ourselves doing something that we don't want to do. Now, this is not as surprising, and we really shouldn't beat ourselves up about it, because we've all been living certain behavioral patterns, behavioral paradigms for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, even more years. And these can be triggered by external circumstances so quickly that we can't catch them. If you're very practiced at this self-leadership and self-management, you can actually stop it once it's started. But at the beginning, that's very difficult. So forewarned is forearmed. And now we're going to look at some of those things that can trigger us into a negative, defensive or dependent child state, as well as those things that can trigger us into a positive state and also trigger us into presence. So one way to look at this is to think, let's have a look at those things that trigger negative emotions in me. Now, when I do this exercise with people, what people come up with are things like being ignored, not being heard, loud voices, aggression, bullying, boulderizing, not being listened to, not being heard. All of these things can trigger those negative emotions, or even just an authority figure or a very authoritarian environment. Think for yourselves a minute that when you're driving along a road or a motorway and you see those little flashing blue lights in the mirror, what's your first reaction? It's probably, is it me? And that's it. That's a trigger. So you can write down for yourselves all of those things that trigger negative, defensive or aggressive emotions in yourself. On the other hand, there are all those things that trigger positive emotions in us. And when we talk to people, some of the things that trigger positive emotions are positive energy from someone. Somebody asking us a question, showing real interest in us. Somebody listening to what we're talking about and engaging with us in a real adult-to-adult, co-creative way. Playing with your children, playing with your friends, running around, playing sport, exercise, being active, being involved in something that has meaning for you. All of these things are aspects that trigger that positive state within us. So once you know what triggers these negative emotions for yourself, be they people or situations, you can prepare when you know you are likely to encounter those people or situations. Prepare and defend yourself, insulate yourself from that with presence beforehand. Before entering that room or that meeting, stop, sense your body, sense your feet, lower your breathing, deeply connect with your purpose and your desired outcome, and then enter the situation. And you are likely to be in a very different state than if you're walking into that situation going, oh, I don't like this person, I don't like this meeting, it's going to be a tough meeting. So connect with purpose and presence. If you know that you are going to access a personal situation that is likely to make you feel good, then again, prepare. Become present and open to that influx of positive energy, of positive stimulation, so that you can get the maximum benefit, the maximum joy from it. So that's the negative and the positive. However, you can see that both of these are still on the line, the continuum of emotional response. There is another state, a state of connection and presence that actually, although full of joy and positivity, is not emotional. We've touched on that before. It is like accessing another dimension of yourself or another dimension of your relationship to your life and to what is around you. That, in psychological terms, is called flow. In sporting terms, it is called being in the zone. And it is, if you like, something that transcends the apex of the triangle. That transcends an emotional state. Because if you're feeling very positive, something can happen and that energy you have can suddenly flip. However, when you're in this state, you are so present that you are beyond pure emotion. You are purely connected with your purpose and your flow in that moment. There's no narrative, it's just you connected with the present moment and all that is in it, responding from your pure self, your presence, and it might well be connected with and realizing a deeper purpose. What actually triggers the transcendence of emotion to this state of presence, of self-realization, realizing and evolving moment to moment? Well, you will have your own triggers, but when we talk to people, we have things like playing with the children, running, just letting it go, playing sport, being active, being really interested in something, following one's heart, somebody said, or flowing with the energy as it goes, not resisting, not judging, having a real interest in what is around one without losing that connection with oneself. So this is another level of being. So when we think about triggers, make sure you're not just concerned about what makes me feel bad or what makes me feel good, but you will find triggers for yourself that will make you feel truly present, fully alive in the moment and connected with all that is in it. And when you find these triggers for yourself, you can look for them. You can take the opportunity to create them so that you can practice accessing that state very positively, so that it is there for you, the pathway, if you like, is open for you to access that state, even when you are entering situations that previously used to trigger pure emotional responses. That's real presence. That's the ability to keep your head when all around you are losing theirs. And that is the state in which true growth, true evolution, and true self-realization is possible.